Off the rocky coast of a Korean island, a woman surfaces from the sea and exhales sharply. The sound is high, whistling, almost musical, carrying clearly across the water. She's not young. Many of the women diving beside her are in their 60s, 70s, even 80s. None of them are wearing oxygen tanks. They dive on nothing but a single held breath. This is Jeju Island, and these women are called Haenyeo, which simply means sea women. For centuries, they have free-dived these cold waters to gather shellfish, seaweed, and sea urchin. No scuba gear, no air supply, just training, breath control, and decades of hard-earned skill. A single dive might last 1 to 3 minutes, repeated dozens of times across a working day. Some of these women have been doing this since they were children. And the strangest part of their story isn't the diving, it's who ended up doing it. In a country long shaped by strict, male-led social order, Jeju became something different. Here, the women went to sea, and in many ways, the women ran the household economy. Historians aren't entirely sure why diving became work reserved almost exclusively for women. Some point to physiology. Women's higher body fat may offer better protection from cold water. Others point to history. Many of Jeju's men were lost to war or long sea voyages. Whatever the original reason, the pattern held for centuries, and it reshaped the island's whole society. Haenyeo income often supported entire families, sometimes for generations at a time. That economic power translated into real social standing, unusually high for women in the region. Local sayings even called them, respectfully, Korea's first working mothers. Training traditionally began early, sometimes as young as 11 years old. Girls started in shallow water, gradually working their way toward deeper, more difficult dives. After roughly 7 years of practice, a girl could be considered a full Haenyeo. Divers are traditionally ranked by experience into 3 tiers, from beginner to master diver. The most senior divers, the Sangun, go deepest and dive longest, having earned that trust. They also mentor younger divers, passing down decades of hard-won ocean knowledge. Central to it all is the sumbisori, that whistling exhale heard the moment they resurface. It clears carbon dioxide from the lungs quickly, steadying the heart before the very next dive. Over generations, sumbisori became something almost like a signature, a mark of survival itself. Haenyeo don't compete against one another. They dive as a close, interdependent community. What they gather is typically shared evenly among the group, not hoarded individually. They support one another through pregnancies, illnesses, and every hard season life brings. In many ways, they function less like coworkers and more like lifelong companions. Their relationship with the ocean is famously protective, not simply extractive. Haenyeo have long practiced their own informal rules about not over-harvesting shared waters. They rest certain areas, leave younger shellfish untouched, and watch the sea's health closely. One diver described it simply: "It isn't just that we depend on the sea for income. It's an active mutual protection," she said. "The sea protects us, and we protect it back." For centuries, this way of life remained mostly unknown outside Jeju itself. That began changing in the 20th century as Korea modernized rapidly around them. In the 1960s, there were roughly 23,000 Haenyeo working along Jeju's coastline. Today, that number has fallen to only a few thousand, and it keeps shrinking. Younger women increasingly choose careers on land in cities over decades of cold water diving. It's an understandable choice, but it puts a centuries-old tradition at real risk of disappearing. In 2016, UNESCO added Haenyeo culture to its list of humanity's intangible cultural heritage. The recognition praised both their sustainable harvesting and their remarkable women-led social structure. It was a formal acknowledgement that something rare and valuable might soon be lost. Since then, local governments have tried to support what remains of the tradition. Wetsuits, medical coverage, and small subsidies have been offered to remaining divers. Diving schools and museums now also work to document techniques before they fade entirely. Whether the next generation picks the tradition back up remains genuinely uncertain. but the divers who remain haven't slowed down or softened their pace much at all. Some in their 80s still enter cold water nearly every working day of the season. Asked why, many give some version of the same simple, unshaken answer. It's what we know. It's who we are. The sea is where we belong. There's something quietly remarkable in watching an 80-year-old woman dive without hesitation. In most places, that age comes with expectations of slowing down, stepping back, resting. On Jeju, it can instead mean decades of earned mastery, still very much in use. These aren't women being cared for by their communities. They built the community themselves. Their strength was never treated as an exception. It was simply how life worked here. So step back and consider what this small island has quietly modeled for so long. A society where a woman's value was measured by skill, endurance, and shared responsibility. Where age brought respect and greater trust, not reduced relevance. Where the harshest, most demanding work belonged proudly to grandmothers, not despite their age, but because of it. It's easy to romanticize hardship from a comfortable distance, and that's worth resisting here. The work is genuinely difficult, sometimes dangerous, and shaped by real economic necessity. But dignity and difficulty were never opposites in this story. They grew together. A community that trusted its oldest women with its coldest, deepest, most demanding work, and in return gave them a rare kind of authority most places reserve for someone else. The Sumbisori still rises off Jeju's coast most mornings, that same sharp, whistling breath. Fewer voices than there used to be, but the sound hasn't disappeared just yet. Each surfacing breath carries something more than oxygen. It carries an entire way of life. One built on cold water, careful breath, shared catch, and decades of hard-earned trust. Maybe the real lesson from Jeju isn't really about diving at all. It's about, whoa, community decides is trustworthy enough to do its hardest work. It's about whether age is treated as decline or as accumulated proof of skill. Most modern workplaces quietly push people out as they get older. Jeju's coastline has spent centuries doing something close to the opposite. The women here don't retire from the sea, they simply keep returning to it. It's about what happens when a community decides that strength has no expiration date. When experience is treated as an asset that only grows more valuable with time. When the toughest job on the island belongs, by long tradition, to the women who've done it longest. Somewhere off that rocky coast, right now, someone in her 70s is holding her breath. Not because she has to prove anything. She proved it decades ago. She dives because the sea is still hers, and she is still entirely its equal.